Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about writing system of equations. So the first thing that we need to discuss is what is a system of equations? Well, a system of equations is basically when you have two or more equations involved, okay? So notice it's two or more equations. In the real world, slope, which is m, kind of going back to previous information you should know, means that the rate it is changing. And the y-intercept, which is b, remember our starting point, means the initial phi or the starting point, right? So the starting phi. So a few key words to look for when we look at word problems, because our focus today, okay, is going to be word problems. All right, I know, we don't like word problems. So if we see the word and, what do you think that tells us to do? Hopefully we said add, okay? If you see the word sum, what does that mean? Same thing as and, it means addition, right? To add. What about the word each? Each is a symbol of multiplication, so I'm going to draw a horrible looking multiplication dot. Times, pretty straightforward, also multiplication dot, times, right? 4 times something, that'd be 4x. Less than. Less than, we know, represents subtraction, right? But something special happens here, right? We have to remember that we have to switch the order when we see less than, right? Key thing. Per. What do we think the word per means? Per minute, per hour. That basically means that we're multiplying something, okay? Multiplication dot. More than. More implies that it's addition. And because of the word than, what also happens? We switch the order, okay? What does the word is mean for us? Is, if we see is, or the past tense, has, right? Is, it has. Those words mean equals, okay? Total is another word that means equals. And what about twice? Because we see twice quite a bit, and I'm going to write it underneath here. Twice implies 2 times something. So it's simply just 2 times something. Okay, so hopefully we understand our vocabulary and what we can look for. So let's go ahead and get started. So step 1 here, you need to read the problem. Okay, step 2, then we can identify our variables. Step 3, we can reread the problem and underline and circle important key information. And step 4, we write it out mathematically, what the equation is. Notice these are systems of equations, so we're going to be writing at least 2 equations. Number 1. Wendy is starting a catering business and is attempting to figure out who she should be using to transport the food to different locations. She has found 2 trucking companies that are willing to make sure her food arrives intact. Peter's pickup charges 40 cents per mile and charges a flat fee of $68. Helen's haulers charges 65 cents per mile and charges a flat fee of $23. First thing that we need to do is identify our variables. So we have per mile to be X and we'll have total cost be our Y. So let's go ahead and list some of our key words. So 2 keywords I found were per mile and, okay, per we know means multiplication and we know means addition. So our first equation is going to deal with Peter's pickup, okay? And it says here that he charges, so the total cost for Peter's pickup equals, okay, 40 cents per mile. Well, 40 cents, I know I'm going to write 0.40. Per mile means that I multiply it times mile. Well, what do we have representing our mile? The letter X. So times X, or 0.40X, and the word and we know means to add. And we're adding the flat fee of $68. So that's what our first equation looks like. Now let's look at our second equation, which is Helen's Haulers Company. So their total equals 65 cents per mile, so 0.65. Per means to multiply, and I'm multiplying the mile, which is X, so 0.65X, and I know means to add, and their charge is $23. That is all we're doing. We're just writing systems, so we can stop there with our answer. Number 2, Carrie's piggy bank contains only quarters and dimes. There are 88 coins and a total of $16.30. Which system of equations will determine Q, the number of quarters, and D, the number of dimes in Carrie's piggy bank? Well, the nice thing about this problem is they specifically told us what letters to use. They said to use quarters for Q and dimes as the letter D. So what we need to do now is list our keywords below. The two keywords that I found were and total. So let's write our system. Now our first equation is going to deal kind of with the first sentence, okay? That we have quarters and dimes, okay? So I have quarters and dimes. So how would I write that? Well, quarter stands for the letter Q. So Q, and I know means plus. Dimes is the letter D, okay? Well, how many quarters and dimes are there? There are 88. So equals 88. Now the second equation is going to deal with the money part, because that's the next number that I have here. It deals with money. Well, how much is a quarter? Hopefully we know that a quarter is 25 cents. So that's 0.25. So 25 cents times the letter Q, because that stands for quarters. And I have to add the dimes. Well, how much is a dime? 0.10 D for dimes. And that equals a total of, according to the word problem, $16.30. Number 3, the Lopez's have 7 rental units that bring in $3,950 in rent every month when occupied. If the 3-bedroom units rent for $650 each month and the 2-bedroom units rent for $450 each month, which system of equations could be used to determine the number of 3-bedroom units, X, and 2-bedroom units, Y, that are rented? Notice again in this problem, they tell us what letters to use. For the 3-bedroom, we're using the letter X, and for the 2-bedroom, we're using the letter Y. So let's go ahead and list the keywords that we found. The keywords I found were each, which I know means multiplication, and have, which kind of represents the word is, which is the equal sign. So the first equation, we need to talk about what's the total number of units that they have. Well, clearly in the first sentence, it tells me that they have 7 units. Well, what are the two different types? The 3-bedroom and the 2-bedroom. So the 3-bedroom is the X, plus they have the 2-bedroom kind, which is Y. And how much do they have of them? They have a total of 7. Now the second equation is going to deal with the money. How much is each one? Well, the 3-bedroom one, according to here, costs, 3-bedroom costs $650 each month. So $650 for a 3-bedroom, plus, now we have to add, because there's that word and, I guess I left one keyword out, and the 2-bedroom units rent for $450 each month. Okay, so that's $450 each month. And it gives us a total of, they bring in $3,950. 4. Ben has 4 more than twice as many CDs as Jake. They have a total of 31 CDs. So the two things that we're talking about here are Ben, and we'll use the letter B for Ben, and Jake, which we'll use the letter J for Jake. Let's list the keywords that we see in this problem. I see more than, and remember, if I see more than, that means I have to switch the order. I see the word twice, which I know means 2 times something. I see the word has, which is in reference to is, which means equals. And I also see total, which also I know means equals. So let's see if we can write our first sentence using, or first equation using the first sentence. It starts off with Ben has. Well, Ben I know represents the letter B. Has, we just talked about it, means equals. So Ben equals, right? Ben has 4 more than. I'm going to circle that more than real quick because I know that the order here has to switch. So I need to deal with the second part first. twice as many CDs as Jake. Twice, we already talked about, means 2 times something. Well, what's the something? Jake is the something. So 2 times Jake, or 2J. More than, I know, means addition. I've already switched the order. And I have to add 4 because Ben has 4 more than twice as many CDs as Jake. Now the second equation is going to be in the second sentence. They. Who are they referring to when they talk about they? When they say they, it means Ben and Jake. Total, we know, means equals. So they have a total of 31. So Ben plus Jake have a total of 31 CDs. So hopefully we understand that. That's all we're doing right there. You can stop. That's 2 equations. That is a system. Five. The perimeter of a rectangle is 110 centimeters. The length is 1 centimeter more than twice the width. Write a system of equations that can be used to determine the length L and the width W. Again, in this problem, they tell us specifically what our variables are. Length will be L, width will be W. Let's list our keywords below. I notice I see the word is, which means equals. I see twice, which means 2 times. I see the words more than, which means I have to switch the order, and it's addition. And then I have perimeter. Do we know what perimeter means? Hopefully we remember that perimeter means 2L plus 2W. Notice that has the 2 letters that we're using, so we're going to have to use that. So now let's write our system, and I'll write the first one by using the first sentence. It starts off with perimeter. Well, what do we know perimeter is? 2L plus 2W. That's just straight from a formula. The next keyword I see is, which we know means equals. And what does it equal? 110. Now let's move on to the second equation. Starts off with the length. Well, what does length mean? It means the letter L. And the next word I see is. Is we know means equal. So L equals, the length is. Now here's where we have to be careful because the next keyword there was more than. And we hopefully remember that when we see more than, it means the order changes. So let's deal with the second part first. Twice the width. Twice we know means 2 times width, which means W. So twice or 2 times W. More than we know is addition. So twice the width plus 1 centimeter. Six. Jonas needs a cell phone. He has a choice between 2 companies with the following monthly billing policies. Each company's monthly billing policy has an initial operating fee and charge per minute. We can see here that the operating fee is basically acting like our y-intercept, right? Our initial fee, our starting point, and then the charge per minute is representing our slope in this situation, okay? So for the per minute part, we're going to use the letter X, and the total cost is going to be the letter Y. So let's list the keywords that we see in that word problem. The only major keyword that I see here is and, but because I know that I have a y-intercept and a slope, I know what the equation is supposed to look like. It's going to look like slope-intercept form, or y equals mx plus b. So let's do Terry's telephone company first. So I know the total equals, okay, well, the charge per minute, which is 0.14x, plus the operating fee, which is $29.95. Now the second equation, let's talk about Carrie's connection. Okay, their total is going to equal, what's the charge per minute? 39 cents, okay, times X, plus their operating fee or initial fee is $4.95. We have 2 equations, we just wrote our system. 7. The length of a rectangle is 5 times the width. The perimeter of the rectangle is 84 meters. Write a system of equations. I want you to try this one on your own. Okay, notice I already have the 2 things that are your variables. You do need to make sure that you remember the perimeter, okay, really is 2L plus 2W. Make sure you pause the video right now and actually work this out first. Last problem. The Frosty ice cream shop sells sundaes for $2 and banana splits for $3. On a hot summer day, the shop sold 8 more sundaes than banana splits and made $156. Which system of equations could be used to find the number of sundaes, S, and banana splits, B, that the shop sold that day? So let's define our variables. Sundaes, they tell us, is going to be the letter S, and banana splits is going to be the letter B. Let's list our keywords. I see the word and, which we know means addition. I see the word more. Notice there's not a more than, so we don't switch the order because it's just the word more, which means addition. Made. Think in this situation, it's going to mean equals, right? They made a total of this amount. And the word for in this situation is going to represent multiplication. So let's look at the first sentence to help us write the first equation, since we know we're going to have two. Sundaes for $2. How would we write that we would pay $2 for a sundae? Well, that would be 2 times S. And we know means plus banana splits for $3. Well, that would be 3 times B. And what's the total amount of money that we made? $156. Now, the second equation, let's look at the second sentence. It says here that the shop sold 8 more sundaes than banana splits. So you have to think, what did they sell more of? Sundaes or banana splits? Hopefully you guys are writing all this stuff down. They sold more sundaes. So because they have more sundaes, our equation in this case has to begin with our sundaes equals how many more? There's the rest of the problem. 8 more. Okay, well, how would we write 8 more? Well, 8 plus banana splits. So we have 8 more sundaes than banana splits. So S equals 8 plus B. There are our two systems, and we are done with our notes. Hopefully you guys did a good job. Go back if you need to. See you guys in class.